breaking the stigma, why I share my struggles pretty openly, and that everything isn't always hunky-dory in my life, and it probably isn't in yours either. You know, all of us as human beings, we're more than happy to share the good things that are happening in our life, especially when it comes to sensitive areas like finances or relationships. Unless you're talking to like your best friend, then you might tell that person everything. But not everybody even has a best friend that they can tell everything to. And that has led to, I think, a mental health crisis in our country and in our world. And as much as I love the internet, and I think it's been positive in so many ways, it's also had a negative impact on people in terms of adding stigma and problems and challenges that we never even knew we had. FOMO, fear of missing out, comparing ourselves to others, not feeling good enough or worthy because we're comparing ourselves to others' highlight reel, and not really what's going on or has gone on for them up to that point, as well as all the preparation that they've made to create the level of success that they want. And what people show in the internet is absolute poppycock and BS the vast majority of the time. We're only seeing what they want us to see. It's like a television program. They only show us what they want to show us to evoke an emotional response. And I think it's gotten worse. I personally think it's going to get way worse with AI. And AI is a tool. It isn't a replacement for us. And I think people are forgetting that. Oh, I'm scared to do video, so I'm going to do faceless video with my AI. And you know what? Who wants to do business or have a relationship with somebody's AI? Reminds me of the movie Surrogates. You know, it was a great movie, great sci-fi type movie, but you'll remember that in the end, they all went back to engaging in the world as who they truly were. They left their surrogates and went back to being human beings. Flawed, amazing, awesome, diverse, creative, exciting, emotional human beings. So today our topic's mental health. And I guess I have some stigma around sharing because my ex-husband used to always tell me I was crazy and that there was something wrong with me. Now, of course there wasn't, because people reflect what's wrong with them onto other people. And it turns out it was just the opposite. But at the time when you're in those relationships, especially your primary relationship, you don't know that. You're just in that relationship doing the best you can at any given time. And that had an extremely stunting negative effect on me. And I don't talk about it very much because it's none of anybody's business. I don't talk about a lot of things, but I do share a lot of things too. And like everybody else, I pick and choose. If I feel safe in an environment to share a story or a past experience, I will do that. If I don't, I will not. You'll see I'm on a platform called the School Platform. I love the platform, but almost all of the communities I participate in are begging for people's wins. Share your wins, share your wins, share your wins. Why? Because it's proof that what they're teaching you works, and it makes them feel and look more successful. It also makes it easier for them to attract more like-minded people and more clients. But how many wins can you actually, and do you actually want to share your information in? I would say share it in your own community and then maybe one other, but that would be it. You don't need to splash your wins across, multiple places unless you're just doing it for attention, which then again is a mental thing and an obstacle that we might want to ask ourselves, well, why am I sharing my wins on 25 different pages and platforms? Because I want my ego stroked. Right? Sorry. Not sorry. I said that yesterday too. I must be on the street. So today, what are we going to do? I want you to pay attention to your level of stress, your level of burnout, your level of fatigue, your level of excitement, your level of everything, all of your emotions, because our emotions are the first signal to what's really going on in us. Excuse me. I had a sudden cardiac arrest in 2010, and I knew I was overwhelmed. Overwhelmed is an understatement. My little red wagon was so overflowing, and about 5 of the 9 life framework areas of my life were just blown up and out of control. And I kept telling myself, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine. But after I had the sudden cardiac arrest and was fortunate enough to be revived and still here talking today, I started to unravel what was really going on for about a month leading up to that physical event. And I realized that I was saying to myself probably thousands of times a day, WTF, I don't know how to handle this. I don't know what to do about this. This is too much. And I wasn't saying it consciously, but I was clearly running that program over and over and over again. And all the emotions that go with that, probably thousands of times a day. I don't know. I know we as humans supposedly have like 80,000 thoughts a day, and 80 to 90% of those are negative. So that's what I was running over and over and over again in my head and my body and my emotions. So it's no wonder I just dropped dead. And it's really hard. I can't believe I can say that out loud now without crying, but I can, because I've looked at it enough and I've unraveled it enough. And I realized that I created that event in my life because I needed to have a full stop and to give myself permission to shut off all the things that weren't working and only focus on the things that were working in my life. That meant my kids, my business, which I couldn't do for 6 months because I was in cardiac rehab, couldn't drive for 6 months because I was in cardiac rehab, which I think now as I look at it was just a precursor to say, hey, someday your eyes are going to fail and you're not going to be able to drive anymore. And that happened in 2019. And I pretty much self-sequestered myself and stopped driving 2018 timeframe. But by 2019, it was legally blind. And it was like, nope, you're not driving anymore. And what I found fascinating, when I went to get my real ID, I still had a legal driver's license. I thought I had gotten my license taken away and that I could not use it. It turns out it was valid for the whole 9 years. It never changed, even though I changed my information with them. It still stayed the same. So that tells you that systems can be broken or compromised. So today I challenge you to be a safe haven, be a safe place for someone to talk to you about what's really going on in their life. I've now trained my kids. If I tell them I'm fine, I'm not fine. I remember hearing the first TED Talk. One of the first TED Talks I ever listened to was something about I'm fine. And I burst into tears during that. And it was way back, before my sudden cardiac arrest even, because I knew that I'd been running through my life for at least 1 or 2 decades at that point. And I was starting to get just exhausted. And as I got exhausted, the businesses kept going because that's what I made a priority. But everything else in my life started to fall apart, including me. So we need to talk about those things. We need to realize that whatever we do, we are experiencing life as only we can and as us. So everything we're feeling is real and valid and important to acknowledge. We don't have to live in it. If you had a bad 5-minute experience in your day, if you're playing that over and 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 over again in your mind ad nauseum, that is not serving you, right? That is just adding fuel to the negative fire. Now, if you ask yourself once or twice, what can I learn from this? How did this go wrong? What could I do or say differently? And you learn from it and then you put it to rest. That will give you strong, resilient, consistent mental health. So, not a mental health expert. I don't even claim to be. I have learned more about mental health, physical, well, maybe not physical health, because I've been studying that for over, several decades now, but really in earnest with respect to us individually since my cardiac arrest. I forgot what I was going to talk about. Doesn't matter. All right. So what are we going to do? We're going to share in the comments below one thing that we learned from. And you don't have to share the whole story, but maybe a couple of sentences about this is what I was struggling with. I'll give another example. I'm in a coaching program right now, and I think there's about 200 of us in the group. I don't know the exact number, but it's a cohort group, so people start at different times, and now they're switching it over because I was one of those people that kind of started on my own, which made me feel lost and behind all the time and like I was missing something. Whereas other people had joined all together at the same cohort and were going through the same processes at the same time. And I'm still in the community. I love the community. And I'm learning that we each have to run our own plays. We each have to set ourselves up for success and figure out how to make it work for us, especially if we come in and are doing something different than other people are. But I realized by joining the calls and listening in and participating, everything I was feeling, almost every other person, if not every other person in the community who's gone before me and is doing it now, has gone through the exact same things, the same struggles, the same challenges, and figuring it out and overcoming those challenges from themselves. And that's why it's so powerful to read the messages that people put in that community. That is a safe, incredible community. I shared something super vulnerable in there, and then I deleted it because it made me cry. And I'm like, if it makes me cry, I'm not going to put it into any community, maybe my own, but not anybody else's community. To me, my space is a safe space for me to share whatever I want. Other people's spaces are not necessarily safe because there's always that person that wants to find ways to harm other people. It's really sad that I have to say that out loud. It even makes me sad to say it out loud, but it's absolutely true. So share in the comments below one thing that you do to maintain and stay on an even keel or to help with burnout, stress, etc., so we can all learn from one another, because it's all tied together with our mental health and well-being. And guess what? They're all linked. Mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, financial, relationships, contribution, confidence, communication. It's all intertwined and linked. We've talked about that a lot. All right. If I can help you in any way, ask. I always have an absolutely tremendous day. I will, of course, be with you tomorrow.